Hey, Internet, welcome back to the sixth episode of Cheap Shot Cinema, where I go over a weekly review of what's happening in the news world of cinema and television. So let's get into it. Emilia Clarke is joining the Han Solo movie, which I'm super happy about. Mostly not only because she's beautiful and an amazing actress. Well, actually, those two things are the reason why I'm excited. That's pretty much it. When it comes down to it, we don't really have a lot of details of what she's going to be doing, but of course you would add the mother of dragons to the Star Wars universe. Why not mix some of my two favorite series together, two favorite worlds, universes, whatever you want to call it. So, again, really excited. She'll be joining, let's see here if I can pronounce his name correctly, Alden Ehrenreich. That's about as German of a name as you can get. And then Donald Glover, which is about as American of a name you can get. So, super excited. We don't have a lot of details yet on what she's going to be doing, but she's going to be rounding out the cast of these diverse characters. So, interested to see how she's going to play into that. I'm actually kind of a little sad just because this, as for right now, is going to just be a single Han Solo movie. It's going to be a solo movie. It could develop into more things, but as of right now, we just get one of them. So I'm actually kind of disappointed. I'd like to see her make a reoccurring role, as I'd like to see these characters make a reoccurring role. But you never know. Disney is crazy and rich and can do what they want, so they'll probably continue to develop more movies if this one does particularly well. So tell me what you think about that. I'm really excited, and I think you should be too. If you're a Game of Thrones fan or a Star Wars fan in general, it's going to be awesome. So moving on. The Grand Tour premiered this last Friday, I believe it was. Yeah, I watched it on Friday. So if you're not familiar with that show, there was a small little show, just a little show on the BBC called Top Gear. If you're not familiar with it, it's a car show. And even if you're not a car person, you really should be ashamed of yourself because you should be familiar with the show. It was awesome, great show. One of the problems, though, is that Jeremy Clarkson, basically there was three guys that kind of did the show, and Jeremy's kind of the main of the three, ended up punching a producer over an undercooked steak or something like that. I know, right? Probably shouldn't be punching people over steaks. Anyways, he hit a guy. He got fired from Top Gear, and the two co-hosts, Richard Hammond and James May, actually left with him because they're really close in real life. So what happened is when I say this was a small show, I mean this was the highest rated show in its category, like all time. I don't know what you'd call that. Mike, what would you call a show like that? Like what category would you put it in? Yeah, he doesn't know either. Yeah, it's like agreed. It's an auto show, but it's reality, but it's not set up like a reality. It's more like actual reality than yeah, things like that. So, in what happened is this was a great option for like all these new awesome streaming services that we have, and it was thrown around that they're going to join Netflix. They ultimately joined Amazon and are now on Amazon Prime. The entire series wasn't released right away. They're doing one episode a week. I believe each season has like 10 to 13 episodes. I'm unsure of the total, but they were signed on for 3 seasons. So the first episode of season 1 aired last Friday. And I was really excited because although I'm sort of a car guy, I'm definitely not the biggest car guy in the world. But it's not because of the cars that's interesting. That's an aspect of it. They're definitely interesting cars and, some of the best and most expensive and coolest cars in the world. But what made Top Gear so good and what I'm excited about in the Grand Tour is the interaction between the three guys, Jeremy, James, and Richard. Super, super close, and they just have this really awesome chemistry, and it really makes it funny. So I really enjoyed seeing that again. It's been a while since I've seen them do anything, obviously, because, Top Gear was, they all left Top Gear. The thing about the first episode was it was good, but it seemed to be really overscripted, overcooked, whatever you want to call it. And I think we'll see that trend probably early on, because I think they desperately don't want to be sued by the BBC at this point in time, because I mean, essentially they're doing a very similar show to what Top Gear was and is currently. So probably going to see a little bit of that scripting going on, but I hope to see more of that interaction and things like that take place. You're always going to see a little bit of scripting in shows like these, but when you can tell that it's scripted, that's not the things that we want to see. So I have really high hopes for this. New episodes coming out on Friday, so I'll probably watch that as well and see how it goes. So, continuing, Mortal Kombat reboot. Mike, did you ever watch the Mortal Kombat movies growing up?
Nope.
They were terrible. So, you don't need to watch them. Obviously, this is based off the video game. The video game came out in like 93 or something like that. It was the early 90s when it first came out on Sega, and I'm trying to think. It was probably in like an arcade and stuff like that before it actually came out on video or console and things. So anyways, they are rebooting it after years and years of speculation. Back in like 2010, there was a short called Mortal Kombat Rebirth that almost seemed like, what do you want to say? Basically test footage, kind of like Deadpool was when Deadpool released the test footage. That's what Mortal Kombat Rebirth actually felt like. And I'll put a link below because it's actually a really good watch. It's only about 8 minutes long and it's really entertaining. And so that's kind of spawned this, okay, maybe there should be a Mortal Kombat reboot to an actually good movie, unlike the 90s movies, which were crap, to say the least. I mean, they're an interesting watch and can be an enjoyable watch for people who were fans of the video game and just like that kind of outstandingly bad movie. So they're entertaining in their own right, but they're not good movies. So Rebirth, which was out in 2010, kind of spawned this Mortal Kombat Legacy YouTube series by Machinima. Is that how you pronounce it? Machinima. I've seen multiple pronunciations of that, but I'll trust Mike on this. And so Legacy series was actually pretty solid as well. So again, posting links. I'm just excited about it because Rebirth was awesome when it first came out on YouTube back in the day, 6 years ago or whatever it was. And that got me really excited about it. I've never been a huge fan of the games, like the games, not a huge fan, but that story is really in depth. And I think they could explore it a lot more than the games have been able to explore it just because of, their video games. So I think it would do good on the big screen, and I'm interested to see how that works. The director that they have, which this was why I talked about it, is encouraging that they got a director after having a producer kind of lined up for the last year or so. The director is a nobody. You're not going to know his name unless you particularly like Australian commercials or something like that. Apparently the guy is big into like big budget commercials. So hopefully that transfers over well. And then moving on into other movies that are in pre-production. Well, I shouldn't say pre-production because Pacific Rim is now in production. Pacific Rim Maelstrom is still the name they're going with, I guess. Not a horrible name in my opinion, but some people have been like, it's kind of odd. It's a little bit of a mouthful. Anyways, I'm really excited about this. Me and Mike really enjoyed this movie. It didn't make a ton of money when it came out in the US, but it made a decent amount of money overseas, which China is going to become the market that I think Hollywood starts to target more than the US because that's where they make all their money. So that's kind of sad and kind of exciting just because the Chinese audience is typically like more stylized, crazy action stuff. And that's cool. Don't want to see that in all my movies, but it's cool. I'm actually really excited about this just because John Boyega is going to be the one that's starring in it. And as you guys know, he was Finn in Star Wars, the most recent Star Wars. So people seem to like him in that. And I like him. I liked him a lot. I did not like Attack of the Block? So that's what it was called? Attack of the Block. That movie was garbage. A lot of people seem to like it, but no, it wasn't good, in my opinion. Anyways, it seems like they're taking a little more serious look at it, and this is just based off of who they got to direct it and who they got to write for it. So Del Toro is still involved as a producer, and I'm a big fan of Del Toro, and I think most people who are movie fans are fans of Del Toro. But the original Pacific Rim had kind of a mixture of tones. When we first open up in the movie, it's fairly dark because the monsters, kaiju, that's what they're called. Kaiju are first coming out and people are dying and everything. And then you add Charlie Day's character, and then the tone kind of shifts to odd, crazy scientist and different things like that. So John Boyega is going to be in it. Scott Eastwood's going to be in it. They got the director of the show Spartacus, and then he also worked as the executive producer for Daredevil on it to direct. So that just makes me think that this might take a little bit of a darker tone. They also have one of the writers from Jurassic World, so that kind of leads me into that direction as well. We'll see what happens. I don't know how much oversight and say Del Toro's going to have, but if he has some in it, you know, that's going to bring kind of his crazy, illustrious feel to the movie as well. So super excited about that. Let me know what you guys think. Did you like the first movie? Did you go see it? Did we see it in theater, Mike?
Yes.
Yes, we did. Thank you, Mike. Anyways, moving on to another under the radar movie that I've really enjoyed in the past few years. Snowpiercer has been picked up by TNT for a pilot show, essentially. So if you're not familiar with the movie starred Chris Evans. It was the director, that was Japanese or Korean. Sorry for not knowing specifics on that. But anyways, really solid movie, dystopian future movie of basically, with global warming happening, we tried to stop global warming, and our solution actually ended up putting the world into a ice age, and like completely into an ice age. And so the world is no longer livable because it's so cold. So the only people that are surviving are on this train that circles the globe in just constant movement, and that movement provides energy and different things. I'm not going to get into the logistics because it probably doesn't make sense when you get down to the physics of it. But anyways, the train has levels of society. Like you have the top level, highest class at the front, and the lowest class at the back. And basically the lowest class are pretty much living in complete, utter poverty, even though I don't know if there's specifically like money involved in this, but complete and utter poverty, overcrowded, and basically living off of almost nothing to the point where they have to resort to cannibalism in certain situations. So really awesome show. I think some of Chris Evans' better work as an actor. So check it out. It's on Netflix. Definitely watch it. My problem is with it, one, it's TNT, and I don't remember the last time TNT put out a show that I was even remotely interested in. And secondly, I don't know how you're going to make this movie into a full TV show. Like, I think it works well as a movie because we see it at the point of, not at the point of the world is ending and people have to get on the train. We see it towards of kind of the climax of how everything comes together and ends. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but we kind of see how that comes together. And I just don't know how you're going to do a show about people on a train and make it interesting. I suppose TNT also does that show called The Last Ship with basically kind of the same premise, except people are on a ship in the middle of the ocean instead of a train. Also did Falling Skies about aliens and people. So, hesitant excitement for that one. The biggest thing for me is it's TNT. If AMC picked it up, heck yes. Or if, HBO picked it up, heck yes. TNT, meh. Anyways, we're going to continue to move on with my last major topic of the day. Geez, we're moving quickly. This one got through quick. Anyways, Boba Fett movie, still kind of tabled. So I'm not really sure why this ended up coming up. I think it's because people started to realize how close we were actually getting to an announcement of a Boba Fett movie. Back in 2015, when Disney / Lucasfilm announced, why can't I remember? Rogue One, that's the words. When they announced Rogue One, they were actually supposed to announce another movie directed by Josh Trank. If you guys aren't familiar who Josh Trank is, he's the guy who directed Chronicle, solid movie, and the new Fantastic Four, not a solid movie. Actually, there was a lot of different issues with Fox and Trank, and apparently he's like kind of a drug addict or something like that. Issues happened. The movie went south fast. So around that time, though, he was on to direct a Star Wars movie, and it kind of fell through. They literally had teaser footage for this movie that they were going to release at the same time they brought out Rogue One, but literally days before that happened, and they made that announcement with Gareth Edwards on Rogue One and Josh Trank on this unannounced movie. Josh Trank dropped out. They pulled the footage, and nothing has really ever been said about it since. So through different sources, Disney execs have talked about the idea of possibly bringing that back. It's pretty much shelved at this point in time. And I would love that. Literally, when I heard they were starting to do anthology solo movies, Boba Fett was like the first one. It's like, yeah, Han Solo. Okay, yeah. Maybe Yoda. Boba Fett. And Mike, I think you would disagree with me on this. I do not subscribe to the idea that this could, I shouldn't say that. It could potentially ruin the character, but I don't think that's a good reason why you don't make that movie. So I'm totally for it. Response?
Nope, don't want it.
Mike doesn't want it. That's his response. So that's just, to me, that's like looking at a Christmas present and being like, the expectations are better than the reality of what this Christmas present could be. So I'm just never going to open the Christmas present. Nope. That's like going like, you can get the boat, Mike.
Nope.
You can get the boat, but I want what's in the box.
No, give me like a Star Wars Underworld movie or something
camera.
like that. Give me Star Wars Underworld or something like that. Explore Black Sun from Shadows of the Empire, but don't give me Boba Fett standalone movie.
Okay.
Don't do it.
Done. Give me a Boba Fett standalone movie. You know what else you should give me? An Old Republic movie. You know what else you should give me more than that? An Old Republic series. That's what Zach wants. An Old Republic series where you have epic battles of multiple Sith fighting multiple Jedi in head-to-head lightsaber dueling conflict. That's what Zach wants. I want to hear about the Jedi and Sith of old that were BA and, you know, did things. I kind of ran out of excitement there. So, what are you guys doing today? Fantastic. All right, and it's back. So that's what I want. Definitely, yes, do a Boba Fett movie, please and thank you. Mike's opinions don't matter because he will see it if you put it out. So, you're going to make money either way. Finally, as we do as a wrap-up at the end of each shoe, we're going to do quick shots. So if you're not familiar with my show, what we do, quick shots is basically I go through some topics really quickly at the end of my show that really don't need further elaboration. Just kind of, am I excited? Am I not excited? Or am I somewhere in between? Cars 3 trailer dropped today, I believe. I believe it was today. I saw it today. Seems right. Was it yesterday? I think it was today. Anyways, this just feels like a movie that nobody asked for. And it's getting me frustrated because we still haven't had Incredibles 2, but we've had 3 freaking Cars movies. And part of the problem why I'm kind of annoyed with Cars is because my 2 older nephews, when Cars came out, they were little. And that's literally all they watched. So I saw nothing but Cars for like 4 years of my life. But that being said, after watching the trailer, it feels like they're refocusing on Lightning McQueen instead of Mater, which was the mistake in the second movie. They focused more on Mater, and he's a secondary character. You can't have too much of that humor and things like that. It doesn't work for a full movie. So it looks like they're doing more of of a seriousness to actual racing in the trailer, which I'll link below. You can see Lightning McQueen actually does a pretty hardcore crash while he's trying to basically show all these new, young, quick car drivers, people, that he's still the best in the business. So it looks like they're refocusing on the racing and driving side of it and refocusing on Lightning McQueen, which I think is a good take, actually. So I feel like they're kind of compensating for the second movie, which they focus heavily on kind of Mater and humor and stupidity in general. So interested, not super interested though. Fantastic Beasts box office. If you weren't aware, which you should be, Fantastic Beasts is the spin-off of the Harry Potter movies, because why not? Warner Brothers needs to make money too, Disney. So basically came out with this new series, and they've said that they're going to release at least 5 movies. So I wanted to check out kind of what they were doing box office-wise compared to the Harry Potter movies. And good. I think good for what we can expect out of them. The opening weekend, they made slightly lower than the worst Harry Potter movie made opening weekend. And when I say worst, I don't mean critically. I just mean what Harry Potter did, which movie made the lowest opening weekend. So it made about 80 million domestically opening weekend, and the worst of the 9 Harry Potter movies made, I think, like 84. So it's really not projecting to be a whole lot lower than that, and we'll see what happens. I mean, the movies that made the most were the last in the series, so I mean, it could trend upward. We'll see what happens. I have a feeling of it's either going to trend downward or it's going to stay roughly the same. I think the excitement brought it a little higher than probably what it's going to be. So I'm interested in watching it, though. Just kind of curious about how that box office worked. I might go see it this weekend, actually. Anyways, finally, Carl might be leaving The Walking Dead. So the actor, Chandler Riggs, is kind of suspected. There's nothing really serious on this. He was recently accepted to Auburn and he's going to college. So this is typically when actors decide to go to college. This typically puts a halt on their acting career, if not just completely ruins their acting career. And not to say that actors should always act and that's the only thing that they should do. They should definitely go and try other things. But there's been a lot of speculation because he's going to college that he's going to be killed off in the series. Now, if you would have told me this 2 or 3 years ago, I'd have been like, fantastic, he's the worst. But as the show has gone on, Carl has become a lot less insufferable. It's actually become a fairly developed and decently liked, definitely not a fan favorite, but decently liked character. So it doesn't really bother me either way. The Walking Dead is one of those shows where people die all the time, so they could definitely write that in without issues. There's also been speculation about contract negotiations, and he's probably going to Auburn, which is located near enough to Atlanta to do it. So it's kind of up in the air. Do you think they'll kill him off? Do you think he'll stick around? What do you guys think? So I think he probably sticks around, but just something to kind of wrap up with. So after actually a fairly short episode, but we kept it in good time, that's going to do it. I didn't announce myself at the beginning. My name's Zach. I host Cheap Shot News here once a week, typically on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. You can check out the new videos. You can check out videos on YouTube, Cheap Shot Cinema. You can also check out our website with videos and other original written content at cheapshotcinema.com. Also follow us on Facebook, search Cheap Shot Cinema, and on Twitter at Cheap Shot Cinema. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I enjoyed recording it, and you guys have a great evening. Bye.